And then it turned out that the call was coming from inside the phone booth.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, who's got that one?
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Come on, Jen. Come on. Okay. So it happened on a night just like this.
Ooh.
And there was this writer writing alone late into the dark.
Oh.
And then she published her article.
Ah.
And then, after a few hours, she came back. And she looked at the article. And there at the bottom of the article was the comments section!
Ah.
Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnetdale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnetdale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast where two queer trans women talk about the things media-wise we've done in the week, and we do silly voices and skits. How are you doing? Yes.
Like that, really.
Like that?
On and on and on and on for hours.
Yeah. But it's fine, because we've consumed media, and that is a distraction.
Also, we have each other. We're here.
Yeah.
You're in touching distance.
I'm in touching range. I wasn't for a little bit, and then I came back, and now I'm in touching range.
Yes. Yes, it was just as well, because I don't think I could have handled all that while I was on my own.
Should we start with what we've played, and should I start because mine involves having gone away, which we sort of referenced there.
Spooky.
Went away to MCM ComicCon in London for a little bit. I was as sensible as I could be with doing so. Thankfully, there were lots of, COVID pass checks and vaccination checks and whatnot going on, and it was all well done. But yes, went away for the weekend, did a panel, that went really nicely, and I played some games while I was away.
What?
Yeah, I had a chance to play some games with some of my nerd friends that I haven't had a chance to play games with in a while.
Heck yeah.
So I'm going to try and get through some of those as quickly as I can. Played some of the Bureau of Balance game, which we've talked about before. It's a sort of deck-based game that works as a jumping-off point for throwing together little tabletop campaigns without much planning or forethought. That went really well. It is a very good kind of game to play that requires very low stats, very simple interactions with each other, very simple character sheets where you don't have to come up with stats and there are prompts to come up with your character. And you can be as silly or as not particularly sensible about the plot as you want or need, and still sort of progress through a coherent narrative.
Yeah, it's very good for helping people tell stories.
Yeah, we had a very silly time. We told the story of a wizard called Greg, who every time we had a card that was like, what does this creature look like? The joke was, it looks like Greg. And Greg was having a bit of a breakdown about, oh god, what the fuck is happening? And we sort of, the story ultimately built up to Greg, not terribly great at magic, was trying to learn some duplication magic, accidentally, at some point in the past, created a wave of duplication magic that sort of had a little bit of Greg in it, so everything it duplicated became sort of Greggish.
Everything is Greg now.
And then at the end, he adopted some of the Greg clones, took them back to the bakery he worked in, and now we have not Greg, but Gregs.
Yay!
It was a good, silly time. Gregory's. I'm just going to go through the MCM stuff in one go. We also played another tabletop-y thing that requires very little prep because it uses a lot of randomized elements. We played a game of Kissing in the Weird Future.
You made that?
Yeah, I helped make that in an hour. It took longer for us to play than it took for me to help create.
That's often the way with one-page one-shots.
Yeah, it was a one-page one-shot that was created as part of an hour-long come up with a tabletop game in an hour podcast, and this is my first time having a chance to play it with other people, like running it as a DM, and it went really well. I had a really fun time. The core concept is that you play as a bunch of time-traveling cherubs trying to get aliens and monsters from across the timeline to fall back in love with each other, because if they don't fall in love, the timeline's going to fall apart and explode. So you roll some random dice to find out what the technology level of the planet's going to be, what the random element that the planet is primarily made of, is going to be, what the elements of the monster are going to be. If you don't want to use the randomized tables that are provided, you can use a random word generator, which can be fun. You random word generate until you have a material. That's the material of your planet. Things like that.
Right.
So we had a little adventure where we were trying to get 2 argumentative, gelatinous insects on a planet made of gold to fall in love with each other. As the person running the game, I had to come up with, in secret, a couple of attributes that these creatures would need in order to fall in love with each other. And these are secrets, and these are the things the players are trying to work out.
Okay.
So, for example, in this, it was because it's a planet of argumentative. Being argumentative is one of the key attributes of this species. I made it so that both of the aliens need to think they've won an argument against the other.
Okay.
Because, I made it a planet of insects that, the thing that they love more than anything is to be I won an argument. We also made it so one of the things they needed was an incredibly dull, romantic gift, because everything on the planet was made of gold. It was all very shiny. It's what's the most mundane, non-shiny, non-colourful thing you can find? And the idea is that you sort of play through one time loop researching who the targets are, what their needs are, etc. You loop back to the start, try and enact your plan to make them fall in love. There's some villainous agents that are trying to fuck up the timeline that'll try and stop you. Very rules light. The main way that the stats work is that you have 2 stats, kissing and weird future. Kissing is for interpersonal stuff, so it's you're trying to convince someone, persuade someone, get insight on someone, doing the interpersonal stuff. That's kissing stat. Weird future is technology, aggression, surrealness, anything that doesn't fall into that sort of interpersonal category. And you start with 6 points spread somewhere between the 2.
Okay.
And you've got to roll below that number on a 6-sided dice to succeed at that thing. So if you want to give yourself, say, a 1 on kissing, you'd have to roll a 1 or lower, which, you'd have to roll a 1 to successfully do kissing stat.
Yeah.
But anything below a 5 would, if you put that in your weird stat, would let you be very good at that. And there's a bit of a mechanic to move those stats over time. If you're moved by a particularly moving display of emotion, you can move an extra point from weird to kissing. And if something unsettles you about the weird surreal planet you've landed on, you can move a point from kissing to weird. But yeah, this is my first time getting to run a game of this properly, and it went really well.
Yay.
It went well as a surreal storytelling experience. It does require a decent amount of you've got to be able to think on your feet as a GM of this, because very suddenly it's here are all the things, go, story. And you have to be very willing to just pick up the handful of attributes you have and run with them. But yeah, we had a really fun time playing. Yay. It was real nice. We also played some Super Mario Party. One of my friends has never played a Mario Party before.
Oh, heck.
Their experience was exactly what I kind of hope someone's first Mario Party experience will be, which is, oh, I hate this game. It's so randomized. There's no way I'm ever going to... Oh my god, I'm winning. This is amazing. I love this game. Oh no, what happened? I'm losing. It's terrible. the roller coaster of joy and fury that is Mario Party.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
The first game we played, I was absolutely demolished. Both other players teamed up on me, they ganged up on me, I was doing real bad, they were stealing all my stars. So in the second game, I absolutely demolished and I did mock them the whole way through. I had a bit of a giggle. There's a map where the price of stars fluctuates and you can buy multiple stars at once. And I kept getting stars for only 5 coins. And every loop of the map I did, I kept getting new friends to add to my team, and they never got a friend to add to theirs. So I was getting like between 4 and 8 free moves every turn.
Wowza.
And I was just sprinting around the map like, who's losing now?
Not you.
Not me. Mario Party's good. I like Mario Party.
Mario Party. Mario Party's fun.
The last thing we played as a group while away is we played Don't Get Got, which we've talked about on this before, I think. Yes. It is a game where you're dealt out secret objectives that you have to do. And there'll be things like, what are some ones we've had in the past?
So the one that I think about most is the one that I got you with, which was put this card in a bag of snacks and have another player touch it.
Yeah.
And I dropped mine in a bag of popcorn way at the beginning of the day, and sometime around 4 p.m, you touched it and were like, what the fuck is that? Oh.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of like, hey, here's a bunch of objectives, try and get someone to do them. If someone realises you're trying to get them to do an objective and they call you out, you failed that objective, you can't do it. The rules say first to complete 3 of their objective wins.
Mm-hmm.
We filled up our wallet of 6 because we were having a weekend together. We set this up on the Friday night and we were like, we're just going to go aim for all 6. By Monday morning, can anyone get all 6? And it was chaos. It was beautiful. There was one moment where about 3 objectives across 4 objectives across 2 different people got done in about 3 minutes. We had a real like. Everyone was still reeling from the last one so much they didn't realise the next one was coming.
Oh, shit.
By Sunday night, so about 48 hours in, me and one other player were down to just 1 objective left each, and my final objective I'd been working on since the start. It was incorrectly say that there are 51 cards in a deck of cards and be corrected.
Everyone knows there's 40 plus a 15 card sideboard in a deck of cards, right?
So I'd spent days building this up so it wouldn't be obvious what I was trying to do. My parents had been on holiday and I had been using legitimate information to talk about like, oh yeah, my parents have been away, they sent me pictures. Oh yeah, they've been playing some card games while away, which they had. And I then started to subtly drop in like, oh, they've got 1 too many cards in their deck. They've got 51 cards in it. And no one picked up, and I was like, okay, did no one like notice what I'd done? And I did this so many times expecting to get like someone to go, you're trying to you keep mentioning this.
Trying to get me.
Yeah, you're trying to get me. Turns out neither of my friends know how many cards are in a deck of cards. On Sunday night, one of them was like, is that how many... I don't know how many cards are in a deck of cards. And I was like, oh no. And then the other friend was like, oh yeah, no, I don't either. Is that how many? I was like, oh no. This one's going to be impossible.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. It's... Because there's an option that if you've got one that you think is going to be impossible to complete, you can swap it out at the start of the game. I did not anticipate this would be an impossible one. It seemed very doable.
Yeah.
You know, I managed to get them to do much more elaborate and complicated things than that.
Oh, well.
So, I came second. I got 5 of my 6 done.
Yeah.
I think I did as well as I could have done.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you played this week?
Oh, gosh. Well, I picked up some new board games at MCM as well. I got Escape from the Dark Sector.
Ooh, tell me about that.
So this is a narrative-driven dice rolling game. You have these huge oversized cards which will show characters. You'll have like a little health pad that you mark off like sort of like an ECG.
Yeah.
And so basically you pick a character or 2 characters if you're playing solo. You give yourself a like a neurostim or something, which will basically give you some bonus or benefit or opportunity to mitigate some of your dice rolls. And you just turn over the first card, and there are multiple first cards so that you can potentially do this game a lot. Flip over the first card, that will tell you sort of what your starting situation. In my case, it was there appeared to be some dead guards. There is a weapons cabinet. It is open. You can grab 2 starting items and an item from the draw deck. So I grabbed a ray gun and a different type of gun. One fires electricity, one fires like standard bullets. Turn over the next card, and it was like a laser grid. So you have to like roll to try and get past the laser grid. Like, will you roll your courage, or will you need to roll like wisdom twice to get through this? Like having like worked out the way they move or something. The next one I think was a couple of guards I had to fight. And everyone is like, you flip one over. Most of them will be like, and you've got an item reward. Draw an item from the deck, and they could be one-handed weapons or two-handed weapons, or just like items like stims or grenades. I found a few of like a batleth type thing. I got for one of my characters, and then you've got like going into combat. So you've got ranged. Obviously, if you've got ranged weapon, you can like do a round of ranged combat. As long as everybody wants to do ranged combat or hunker down or move to flank, you can't have one person in close, one person in ranged. And you will just like roll for it. So basically, what you're trying to do from range is just roll dice and get hits without your gun jamming or exploding or whatever other possible downfall you might have, because sometimes some of the dice faces will be a positive thing, and sometimes by definition of what's on the card that might be a bad thing, but it is pretty much the same dice for that type of projectile weapon. Then you've got close combat, where you roll your own personal dice and you're trying to match symbols on the enemy's card, which have been like marked out as dice, and usually a couple of random ones thrown in there for like roll this number of dice per character playing. And you just sort of try and work your way through this thing, making narrative decisions a bit like a choose your own adventure book, and get through and eventually fight a boss. I got to the room before the boss and I died. But like I thought it was pretty good, because the person who sold me on getting this game was like, oh, I suppose you could play single player, but that sounds very, very, very hard. Yeah. It's not an easy game. I was like, well, that's fine. You know, I'm not adverse to a difficult or crunchy game. The size of these cards are pretty stunning. That's like 4 times the size of a regular playing card.
Ooh, yes, I've seen the big cards.
Yes, and the dice are very chunky as well. So you've got like 9 trait dice that you usually use for marking out the enemies. You've got 6 character dice, 1 for each character, and then you've got like tons of much smaller dice for your like ballistic weapons or energy weapons or explosive weapons.
Yeah. And
then hit dice as well for like, so when you're in ranged combat, you would roll your dice plus a hit die, and that's them shooting back at you. So it's quite a nice mechanic of, well, maybe they didn't hit me, maybe they're stormtroopers, I don't know. But there's like a 1 in 3 chance of them missing. So yeah, it feels pretty decent. And it's all various sizes of D6s. It's pretty interesting, and I would be interested to play it with more people to sort of get that back and forth of like character interaction and stuff, and exploring the world. But yeah, the art in it is this sort of very classic black and white comic book style. It's very interestingly drawn, and it's definitely got a style all of its own, and I'm interested to play more of it. What about you? Have you played anything else?
The only other thing I've had a chance to play, I had something else I wanted to play. It'll end up being next week. I was going to play some of that Guardians of the Galaxy game. I'm going to try and play that today, but I've been playing a little bit of the Nintendo 64 games that are now available on the Switch.
Ah, yes, I've not heard great things about the online multiplayer.
I've not tried the online multiplayer. What's up with the online multiplayer?
It keeps disconnecting, like people trying to play Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Which obviously everyone's trying to play Mario Kart. Like people getting just like constant disconnections, like once per track's like, oh, we need to reconnect to the other player, we're just going to pause for a minute.
Yeah, that's a real shame, because that's basically the key selling point of having these these ROMs on the Switch is that Nintendo will, hey, you're paying for this as part of your online service, we'll let you play these games online multiplayer.
Yeah.
The emulation, otherwise pretty good. There's a couple of things I've seen going around on Twitter. The main thing is the Dark Link room in Ocarina of Time doesn't do its fog effect quite like original hardware would. But a lot of the issues you see on like cheap handheld emulators with N64 games don't occur here, such as the Mario Kart 64, the
picture-in-picture.
the picture-in-picture, that works totally fine. Like, some of the stuff that, like, if you're playing cheap emulator handhelds will sometimes, like, be the thing to crap out on N64 games, those seem to work.
I think the thing with that picture-in-picture error is one of those, hey, we could look at like actual hardware and strip it back, but the whole point why we're allowed to make these emulators is the fact that it's done in a sealed room environment.
Yeah.
So we don't know how they did it, whereas Nintendo can just go, oh yeah, we know, it's our software.
Well,
or our hardware rather.
Yes, yeah. That being said, fun fact: if you dig into a lot of Nintendo's, like the NES Classic, for example, a lot of the ROMs on them are literally downloaded off ROM sites.
Oh,
Nintendo clearly takes some inspiration from.
I mean, yeah, but that's just the ROMs though. They're just file images. But whereas the emulators themselves.
Indeed.
Obviously, they have the option to fix certain things or change certain things to make it more hardware accurate.
It seems to largely work. There's a couple, like the main thing is a couple of weird issues with things like the fog in the Ocarina of Time.
I've heard some issues with aiming in Winback.
I haven't tried Project Wingback yet, but
I've heard of a few people talking about various issues like. What I really want to see is and what the person in the video said was like, I want to see Modern Vintage Gamer do a take on this. Someone who really knows not only emulation but porting and the hardware scene, especially for N64. And I think that would be like an interesting teardown, because there are a lot of people citing like, this isn't quite right. In fact, I would rather play this on an actual emulator than pay. Much.
One thing I've seen people talk about that I have not experienced, and I don't know if it's widespread or if it is infrequent enough that it will happen, but hasn't yet, is I've seen some people talking about input lag, and that's not a thing I've experienced, but I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I've heard people talking about input lag as well. Are you playing directly on the Switch, or have you been using docked?
Directly on the Switch in handheld.
Okay, I'm wondering. Maybe if there's something weird with wireless?
Well, I mean, I had it on the table, but I had the controllers wirelessly.
I don't know then.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not noticed any issues with input lag. But yeah, it's nice to have access to those games just conveniently there. Yeah. People can have whatever opinions about the price being not great, but also I can afford to do so, and it's nice and convenient to have access to them here, even if, it's not a great value proposition.
I've also heard people talking about the way some of the mapping for the C buttons isn't great.
I mean, it's the same as when you play a lot of N64 games on, say, GameCube, where it's We've mapped the C buttons to the right stick, for example.
Yeah, same controls, but I've heard that the Switch stick is a lot more sensitive and has been causing issues in that respect.
So far, it has. I haven't noticed them, but
this is just
again. I've not had a huge amount of time to play around with it, so
same.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me?
Yeah,
I bought another board game.
Yeah, tell me about another board game.
I got Gloomhaven: Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah.
So Gloomhaven came out. It was kickstarted. It was huge. I think it's on version 3 now, version 4. Multiple printings. They've gone through. They've fixed a few things. They've balanced a few things. I think slowly over time. It doesn't change the fact that it is a huge box full of cardboard components that most people never seem to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are like, I've got the big game and it's very good and I'm very excited to play. I got through it's even people who got through 15, 20 campaign missions are going, yeah, Yeah, I didn't go back to that.
There's still too
There's
much.
too much game.
There's too much game still.
And that's understandable. It is a lot of game for most people. If you don't have like a dedicated board game group like weekly,
Yeah.
unless you're willing to play solo and not see other people, you're probably not going to get through most of this anytime soon. There's like something like 90 odd missions in the base thing.
Yeah.
I believe you can play like one-offs, just with stuff from the box. But there's people who talk about like 25-minute setup times. And that's including people who are using the app to run the monsters.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get the board out, you've got to find... so you've got to open the box, you've got to find all of the board components, put them together like a jigsaw. You've got to find all of the enemies to put on the board. You've got to find any things like treasure chests or treasure that's lying around already. Barricades, sorts of things like that. You've got to mark them all out on the map, and like then you've still got the fact that if you're playing without the app, all of your damage markers and status markers, and like all of the other monster stuff, and just have that bumbling around. Then you've got to sit down and sort out what deck your character is going into the dungeon with. Are you going to the shop? Are you going to buy stuff from the item shop? Are you going to take that with you? Okay, do you know where all that is? Have you got that all packed up? Like, it can be overwhelming to go in there and go... Like, I think the box gives you, like, giant bags to put things in. And what I'm seeing a lot of people saying is, like, no, individual bags is the only way you will get through it, otherwise it's just too complicated.
Yeah.
Jaws of the Lion gets around that a little bit. Like, you open the box and the first thing you are presented with is a, hey, before you start playing with this, there's going to be some box setup.
Yes.
But we are going to talk you through every single step of that.
Oh, thank you.
It's like a one-page double-sided sheet with, hey, so here's what, there's a bunch of bags, get the punch board, all of the characters that look alike, put them in one bag, find their description card, and then punch out their turn order tracker piece.
Yeah.
And then stick that in that bag. Then go through this deck of cards and put the character cards that match that creature into the bag with those things. You have just made up your Vermling bag. Okay, now you're going to need to make up this and that and the other.
Yeah.
And I literally went through, punched out all the cards, put the cards in bags, put all the turn trackers in bags, then put all the cards in, and it's all very nicely organised in there. And I think if I had the base game and was trying to individually pick through stuff, or even just pick through hundreds of fucking bags trying to work out which one was which that I needed for this thing, because sometimes you need like 3 or 4 different types of creature.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Luckily, this is much more manageable. As I say, it talks you through it.
This seems like a much less intimidating
Seems like
proposition.
There's only 4 characters as opposed to the 17 that's in the base game. If you get excited and like this enough to try proper Gloomhaven, you can take those characters ahead and you're basically using it as an expansion.
Yeah.
Instead of having to deal with fucking about with the board, you open the scenario book to the page. It will have some text about the scenario. It will have pictures where everything goes. All the barricades are just pictures, and if you destroy those barricades, you'll just need to put little damage markers on top of them. Like, the tokens is just a tray, and it teaches you through, punch out these tokens, they go in this section in the tray, done. You're done. It's all done for you. It's so fucking easy. You have a learn how to play book, and it's like, okay, read this. Okay, now read the scenario book. Here is some plot. Okay, cool. Now go back to this bit. Read down to here. This is how you're going to play. This is how these cards work. This is how the enemies work. This is how, like, which enemies you put out depending on player count. And, like, it is all really simply very, very organised. And better than that, there is a QR code on the back of the startup guide of, here is a link to watch it played. Let Rodney teach you how to play it in 5 videos that talk you through the entire first 5 scenarios.
I mean, anytime a rule book or a setup is like, hey, here's specifically Rodney's YouTube videos, it's like, okay, you know what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, like this is so much more manageable. Two reasons I haven't picked up Gloomhaven.
Hmm.
One, it looked like too much faff.
Yes.
Two, by the time I was three reasons. By the time I was thinking about Gloomhaven, Frosthaven was getting kickstarted.
Yes.
And I looked at Frosthaven and went, that looks like all of the stuff that people talk about, but it's got more like city building stuff that I thought was more interesting, like outside of combat. And the third reason is it looks like a dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
And I just like that's the least interesting part of D&D to me. Like I want to have the character interactions. Rolling dice for half an hour is fine, TM.
Yeah.
But like I want to know if the bard fucks the barmaid. I want to know if you know, what's happening with the characters in town. Who's responsible for the vermling plague, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't much care for the combat. It's all about the wacky storytelling and the fun. And then I played Jaws of the Lion's first scenario chapter on my own just to get a feel for it, and the combat's amazing.
Yeah.
So rather than dice rolling, you have a deck of cards. Cards are broken up into two halves, a top half and a bottom half, and in the middle is a number. So at the beginning of your turn, you will each pick two cards from your hand. You will decide which order you want them to sit in, and the card you put on the bottom and then or on the top and then put face down will the number that is lowest will go highest in the initiative order.
Yeah.
You'll turn over an enemy card once you get to the normal game, and that will have an initiative point on it, and your opponent or your colleague will do the same. You'll also have like special missions for the game.
Yeah.
Like, I need to collect as much money as possible. I need to finish all of my turns not standing next to another player.
Okay.
And these will get you ticks, which will get you little upgrades on your character later on.
Okay.
So you can start to modify things. So back to the cards. Whatever you may have planned, you can just go, actually, I might just do the bottom of that one instead. So it'll usually, most top actions tend to be like attacking things, or at least for the characters I've seen, because I've only seen the Demolitionist, who is just destroying scenery and melee, and the Void Warden, who is more of a support class. She can do like lots of heals, very good for a group, and like work through other people.
Yeah.
Just be like, you can now do an attack of 2 or 3 at range 2, which is great, even if your character isn't ranged.
Can you do the top half and bottom half of the same card?
No.
Or do they have to be two different cards? Okay.
And so you will basically just be trying to work out what you're going to do based on decisions you made earlier.
Yeah.
Which can be a bit tricky, because like the one particular one I had the other day when I was like playing my practice game was, so it's like, based on the scenery now, the best thing I want to do is I want to heal the Demolitionist, and then probably move sort of closer to them, because I'd been at a bit of range. And then, without really thinking about it, I was playing a two-hander. I probably should have thought about it a bit more. It's like, okay, as the Demolitionist, I want to move towards the nearest enemy and do an attack.
Yeah.
So, the Demolitionist moved first, because they were first in the turn order.
Yeah.
And I would have known that, because I picked the fucking cards. But, like, this is something that you wouldn't know in a multiplayer game, because you don't talk about what your cards are. You can sort of say, I'm going to try and attack that, and I think I can kill it. But you can't say, I'm going to do this, it does this much damage, it's this card, and... you can't really sort of talk about what you're going to do.
It's almost a little bit programming game in that, like...
Yeah, a little bit programming, there's a little bit hidden stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, like, you could potentially be trying to wander around the map hoovering up money and not actually do the mission to get yourself ticks to improve your character.
Because it's somewhat cooperative, but there are things you can do that will benefit you and not everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
And then at the end, so basically once you run out of cards or you've only got one card left in your hand, you need to take a rest. So are you going to take a short rest, which means that you will pick up your discard pile, shuffle it, and throw one of those cards in the lost pile.
Oh, do you get to find out what that is, or?
I mean, you could look at it. I didn't, because I thought it might just make me sad. I believe at that point you can just throw, like, 2 other cards in if that card you particularly wanted.
Okay.
The alternative is you take a long rest.
Yeah.
The long rest means you basically skip your next turn.
But you get to keep everything?
You get to pick which card you're putting away.
Ah.
So you're still losing one, you're still becoming more fatigued by battle.
Yes.
But that's slightly better. And that, I mean, for the most part, that is it. For the long game, you are gaining experience for being on missions, and depending on what difficulty level, because you can play at like 8 different difficulty levels, you'll get like more bonus cash and more bonus XP. And there's like a whole level up chart. You can potentially have extra cards in your hand, or new cards coming into your deck, or if you open treasure chests, it might find a particular item that you get out of an item deck, and that's just now available for you to have. Or you could sell it back to the shop, and it becomes available in the shop.
There's a lot of different mechanics happening here that all sound like they interplay with each other in interesting ways.
It's really fascinating in a way that, like, I really wasn't expecting based on, like, yes, it's been top of Board Game Geek's top 100 for, like, 2 years now, but, like, none of that was made particularly clear in a way that engaged me.
The way I've always heard Gloomhaven explained from the outside always made me picture... It seemed like a game for people who really enjoy, like, 2nd or 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons that was min-max combat, dungeon crawling heavy, and, like, has never sounded appealing.
Lots of dudes on a board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly the case I felt so far, but, like, playing through Jaws of the Lion, like, I'm desperately keen to play more of it, and to get, like, sit down with like, I don't want to go too far into it, because obviously I'm potentially going to have to, like,
replay and...
well, mostly it's restarting the decks.
Yes, yeah.
Because if I get started playing with a group, I'll just be like, this is my character, my cards that are in my deck will sit in my little tuck box, and I will remember them for the next mission.
Well, I mean, we have our friend that wants to play Gloomhaven, and I'm excited to find some time to...
Well, they're coming over soon, so...
Yeah, it'd be nice to find some time soon to do that.
Bar games.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah.
Have you played anything else?
I don't think I've played anything else, I'm just double-checking. Yeah, I think that's it for played. What about you? Have you played anything else?
I played through Echo Generation. Talked about this, a year or so ago. We got a demo sent to us, and I played through that on stream. I had a lot of fun. It's this fun, quirky synthwave style voxel game.
Yeah.
So all the characters are made up of tiny voxels. It's kind of cute. It's like a JRPG where you are kids running around town, and there seems to be something like your parents seem to be divorced. You've got to look after your kid sister who's sitting around the house watching violent cartoons that are supposed to be educational. We both played an early demo for this a while back. It had almost like Earthboundy kids. I haven't played Earthbound, so
it felt a little Earthbound in that sense of like kids off on an adventure that the parents aren't really like engaging with what the kids are up to.
Yeah.
A lot of the villains are weird alien-y adults often.
Well, there's the raccoons. You spend most of the first half, most of that demo fighting raccoons.
Yeah.
And then there's like a weird clown robot you fight at the end.
Yeah.
And then you go out into the field, talk to the cat. There's a crash spaceship in the background, and it was like, play the full game when it comes out. And was interesting. Certainly interesting enough that when it came to Game Pass, I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go, and then play through it in one afternoon.
Yeah.
It's, 6 to 8 hours maybe, tops.
Hmm.
And you are basically these kids going on an adventure. Initially with the demo, I wasn't sure if it was like all in their heads and they were just imagining stuff. No, it's got alien robots, and there's a whole plot involving some kind of company and space and portals, maybe, and there's your principal might be really shady.
Yeah, so some of the stuff you were telling me about this, like, I don't care that I know plot spoilers for this game. It sounds fucking wild,
fucking wild.
I'm here for the journey.
Yes, come for the journey. There's also more playable characters now.
Yes.
So, like, in the demo, you had, like, kid with baseball cap, and that's it. And now there are actually, like, some choices of like different archetypal people, and flicking through the character selection screen, I was like, that looks a little bit Stranger Thingsy, maybe, not sure, but yeah, lots of good different character options and like just weird fun combat mechanics.
Yeah.
So basically, your special powers are obtained through comic books.
Oh.
So it's like, oh, you got a hockey hero. You've picked up this move where you, like, side-check someone with your hockey stick.
I'm always a fan of in-universe narrative for how you get your new moves. Like, my favourite one of those is always the original No More Heroes, where you're getting VHS tapes of wrestling matches, and that's how you unlock your new wrestling moves. And then I think in No More Heroes 3, I think it's you're getting pen pal letters from your dojo teacher, who's like, hey, I think you're ready. I've like written an explanation. You try and do this.
Do a big kick now.
Yeah, do a big kick and then sort of spin around a bit.
Oh heck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's charming. The colouring in some scenes is absolutely beautiful. Like the palettes they picked for this game is really good. The backgrounds are really stunning. Some of the character design is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've done a really good job with it. But also Book Train. Book Train!
Book Train!
Book Train! I did terrible things to Book Train.
It seems like a fascinating game. It's maybe got a few indie jank little flaws, but like it seems interesting and worth the time to play.
It didn't crash on me. I had a good time. I may have at the end started save scumming a little bit.
Yeah.
Because basically, if you use items in combat and you die, those items are used, but you will have to run back and find somewhere to heal back up to full health, or use more items before going back into that fight.
Oh, I see.
So, like, literally for only the final boss, it was like, I have no way of getting new items.
Yeah.
There is nowhere to go and sit and heal up.
Yeah.
So, if I get to a point, I'm just gonna exit to main menu, because it only saves before I go into combat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that was the only time in, like, as I say, 6 to 8 hours of gameplay, and had a fun time with it. The music's really nice as well. It doesn't get too samey. The set design, very, very fun. Had a lot of fun with that. That was fun. That was a nice, bright, colourful, fun thing.
Yeah.
And last week on stream, I played Visage.
I was packing for MCM while you were playing that, and there were a couple of times I heard genuine screams from downstairs and had to check, like, have you been scared by a spooky jump scare? Or did you, like, fall over and, like, or you're being attacked by a serial killer? Like, should I be concerned by the sound I just heard?
I think someone might have clipped it, but the end of the stream, I was wandering around, the lights kept getting turned off, I was getting more and more pissed off, like, how I do very often with, like, survival horror games, where, like, it's got to a point where the creeps are happening so often I'm just getting annoyed with them. But also I hadn't died the whole stream.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really got to that step of, whatever, but I was just like, hello, scary friend. Hello.
Yeah.
Are you okay, friend?
Scary friend didn't seem as much of a threat as you felt they should, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to sort of be like, I'm going to assume the worst of you just because you're sitting in a cot smeared in blood that's glued to the fucking wall.
Yeah, that room was quite something.
You okay there, friend? You seem to be glued to the wall with some blood and a crib, I guess. Is everything okay? And then just like wandering around the house and the lights keep going off and I'm stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then this thing just jumped out at me.
My favourite thing about watching you play that was every time you were like, you don't have to turn the lights out. You don't have to turn the lights out. And I was like, the fact that you're getting so actively angry at the game for doing it, I think is exactly why they have to turn the lights out. You're getting scared and upset, and that's what the game is clearly going for.
They played me perfectly. It built and built and built, and then there was a jump scare, and I was like... the thing is, I screamed, and then I sort of like turned or something in such a way that I bashed my desk.
Yeah.
And the keyboard tray fell off it.
Yeah.
So there was this huge clatter. I disappear off screen, having screamed.
Yeah, I hear a scream and then like a crashing sound, and I come downstairs, and you're just sat on the sofa like,
I need a minute. I just need a minute.
Are you okay, baby?
Mm-hmm. So this week I will be doing the new Fatal Frame, which comes out on Thursday. So that will be that stream. But yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah.
Played some more Rift Breaker.
Yeah, you seem like you're real near the end of that and ready to just
so close to the end.
it.
It's so tantalisingly close to the end. Like, I've completed almost all of one of the pages of research. Like, the main research page, this is everything you need to do. There's, like, other stuff like more weapons, but I'm happy with the weapons I've got.
Yeah.
And, like, more alien tech. I've got the bits I need and don't particularly need certain other stuff. And then, like, just getting into this particular, like, this final stage is like, okay, it's right at the beginning of the game you were told, make a huge space for this rift thing. You're going to rift back all the way back to Earth.
Yeah.
You're going to need, like, some super cool supercharged plasma to charge the thing and some coolant to make sure that it doesn't go wrong during charging. Cool. I'm very ready for this. This is all excellent. I'm ready and raring to go. Whew. And I was like, okay, I've built all that. I've built all the side bits to it now. Cool. Are we ready now? Okay, we're going to have to build some magnetic stabilizers. Well, luckily I built the best version of those. I've researched the best version of those already. That's going to be way less faff to deal with. Okay, I have to move a few things around to make sure they're properly spaced because they can't be near each other. Thanks for that.
I mean, that's fair. Magnets.
And it's like, cool, okay, everything's ready. Spin up the thing and that's going to be the end of it and we will be victorious. But it will attract enemies.
Yes.
And if it runs out of any of the fuels during the process, it's going to need 2 minutes to cool down and you're going to have to restart the whole thing again. Okay.
Okay, so you want to really stockpile the stuff.
So it went from being like, okay, I think I can like fire the thing up to ha ha ha, I've actually already done this thing. Ha ha ha. Okay, well I think everything is ready to go now. Now. How about now? Now. Oh no, okay. And this thing that took 5 minutes to build and I kept needing to like put it down. Move it like sell it, move it again because it wasn't quite in the right place. I spend another 5 minutes rebuilding it. Okay, finally had everything ready. I was like, okay, I've seemed to have enough of everything. Hit start up. I did not have enough of everything. It was chewing through resources considerably faster than I had enough money.
Yeah.
Money wasn't the problem. I didn't have enough supercharged plasma and I didn't have enough coolant.
Yes, you hadn't anticipated quite how hungry this thing was going to be.
This thing was very hungry. And also it triggered, like, boss monsters coming from every single direction. I was like, okay.
Yes, now you're like, oh, I understand what the final battle is now.
The final battle is just ridiculousness. Like, it's like 10 times what you saw at the beginning of the game of, you're not supposed to be able to beat this. But this time you actually have to beat this in order to win. So now it's less a case of I'm working towards the final goal and building the thing to I'm working towards something entirely nebulous. I don't know how much enough is going to be. And I don't know if I can build the infrastructure around my existing base. Like, I feel like basically what I'm going to have to do is build an entirely new base out of my old base. Because I seem to have completely given up on the concept of, like, most of the stuff I'm already running.
Yeah.
And going, fusion engines! Everything is fusion now. I knock down every other piece of equipment I've been building so far. I build huge fusion things, which gives me enough super coolant, which I can turn into enough plasma that I can turn into super plasma, that I can use to power both the Rift and the heaviest possible guns in the game. Because everything is coming and it's very angry at me.
Well, I wish you luck.
Thanks. I don't need the luck.
Yeah.
What are you?
That's everything I've played this week, I think.
Well then.
Time for this. Oh my god, my cosplay's absolutely fucking annoying me so much today.
Same. I'm largely held together by safety pins at this point. I've been over to the cosplay repair place like 7 times already.
Yeah, these leggings like keep falling down. The top is just completely falling off. My shoes are 3 sizes too small, and I think I've broken one of my toes.
I mean, I had to literally cut the soles off of my shoes, so I've been basically walking around this con barefoot all day.
Yeah, the wig is like digging into my head like nobody's business. It's tangling up a real nightmare. I can't do anything without it tangling again.
These contacts are actually making my eyes just burn. It feels like burning.
Yeah, it's been a lot today.
Yeah, and I think I might have used the wrong glue to glue my ears on.
Oh god.
Because I feel like I'm coming up in some kind of rash. It's just aggressively uncomfortable, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Those photos we took were fantastic, though.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to do this again.
That's such a fucking good day. I can't wait to do this again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna glue the wig directly into my head next time. It's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
The world is full of darkness. Hate and bigotry is everywhere. So this spookmas, why not get friends together and perform sinister rituals to curse a fascist, bewitch a corrupt politician, make puppets of bigots and stab them with pins? This Halloween, why not use your dark powers for good?
Yay!
So, what have you put in your eyes?
What have I put in my eyes?
I don't know. What have you put in your eyes?
I rewatched some Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Not for any particular reason. Gestures over to the side of my work desk.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. So I treated myself at MCM to a really nice replica of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers morpher with different swappable in coins, and it opens up and it makes the lights and the sounds, and the lights and sounds are different depending on the coin you pop it in.
It's morphin time.
And there's a thing that you can pop it on your belt for cosplay purposes. It's got sort of clips, and then you clip it in there so you can have your morpher.
It's more phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's really nice, and it's entirely unnecessary, but it made me very happy, so I went back and watched some original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Can you make the sounds?
I haven't put the batteries in yet. I need to. I think it's AAA's, but I need to.
Oh no!
I need to make the time to get a screwdriver to pop it in. Let me double check. Does it say on the back what kind of batteries it is? Oh. I will double check. It might be AA's. It might be AAA's. I need to put some batteries in it.
Heck, I'm excited.
It's got a little stand, and it's currently next to my work desk, and making me go, it's Power Rangers.
It looks great.
I forgot how much I love the original Power Rangers TV show. It's terrible, but it's great second screen watching while working.
You know what we should do?
What?
It's nearly UDP. We should play some Power Rangers Battle for the Grid.
Yeah.
Heroes of the Grid.
Heroes of the Grid. Yes, we should play some of that and
put some Power Rangers on in the background.
Yep, have the Megazords on the table. Maybe when we do something cool, like get the morpher out and put the coin in, and
every time we get a new Zord,
I should do the morphin.
Yeah,
I would like that.
I would like that too.
Yes, I've been rewatching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because I've had a lot of work to do this week that was like that needed something low brain in the background. While I did like a lot of like entry of data into forms and moving files around and all sorts of logistical admin things that are very good to have. Just like here's some bumbling fools fighting. I don't know, a big pig that burps a lot. Big pig that do a big burp
with a huge knife and fork.
With a big knife and fork. He's a very hungry pig.
And a big Spartan helmet.
Yeah, a big Spartan helmet. Watching that episode back, I didn't really. How do I put this? I think there's not an insignificant number of people that have vor kinks that it may well have originated there, because that probably put some fucking ideas in some child heads.
Well,
It's quite a fucking thing, that episode.
okay, I think I'm gonna have to see this at some point.
Yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is wild.
I remember vaguely watching it, but it was really just on until the wrestling came on, because I wanted to watch the wrestling.
At some point we need to watch some of the original series, because I think the episode, like the episodes are just fucking dumb fun. I think you'd enjoy them.
We watched the movie.
The movie is weird and ridiculous. Yeah, what about you? What have you watched?
Oh gosh, I was so into yours, I forgot to look at my.
I know one thing you watched.
We watched Free Guy.
Oh yeah, we did. We watched the.
We watched it like 2 weeks ago, but I forgot to put it on the list. But now it's here.
Yeah. That was a perfectly serviceable, not bad time.
It was some time we spent watching a film that was like, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. That's a nice graphic.
It was like, it wasn't terribly creative always, and like there's a lot of stuff that was like, it really had some moments of like an executive who's never played a video game trying to explain what a video game is like in a couple of places.
Yeah.
There are some real vibes of like, this is, video games do this, right?
Right.
But like, it was kind of a sweet tale, and like there was some intrigue to it. It was not a bad time.
No, it's if you want to have just like a fine time.
It's a predictable, safe, not bad time.
It's got very vibes of a kids movie. Like, hey, does your kid play a lot of video games? They'll probably dig this film.
Yeah, you've heard of like hit points being a thing, and you know that video games have cheat codes sometimes. You know, they're like, it's that level of
like the 80s video game movies.
Yeah, but I mean it had some similarities, sort of, kind of, to a slightly more aged-up attempt at something like the Lego Movie, and I don't think it's as good as the Lego Movie at doing what it's trying to do, but these sort of, like, I am suddenly self-aware of, like, being able to break some of the rules of my rules-limited world kind of thing.
What if Ready Player One was less problematic?
What if Ready Player One was less problematic, and it wedged all of its let's reference everything we know into the, like, last 10 minutes?
Yeah, and, like, even then, like...
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, dwell on it.
Yeah, it's like, here's a fun sequence done. It's not the whole film's purpose.
Yeah. And Taika Waititi just chewing the fucking scenery in the most beautiful way.
Yeah, Taika Waititi, as someone writing a parody book about the video game industry, watching Taika Waititi's performance was interesting.
He could work for Supremacy Software, right?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
I think he could give Rick and Chad a run for their money, to be honest.
I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else has been watched. We both watched the Charlie the Unicorn finale.
Charlie.
We've now seen the end of that. You quite enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. You not so much.
I enjoyed it. For what is supposedly the finale of this entire, like, this narrative is done, the final part of the finale felt very... It's the same problems I had with the Magnus Archives finale, in that it's technically fine, and I guess it works. It felt like it rushed over a lot of things and didn't quite explain answer it. It felt like it was rushed for time, in a way that a finale to a big ongoing thing ideally shouldn't. And that's just my personal tastes. I felt that, like, a few too many things were a bit too unclear and unexplained, and didn't feel quite resolved enough.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the road there.
Yeah.
Its last few minutes, I didn't feel like stuck the landing, but I enjoyed the journey.
Mm-hmm. I feel differently about this.
Yeah, that's entirely fair.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think, yes, there are bits that very definitely aren't explained. Like, there is one scene that is like a flashback, and it perfectly explains how a thing happened.
Yes.
But it doesn't explain that it's a flashback, doesn't lead into the fact that it's a flashback, doesn't lead out of the fact that it's a flashback. It just goes, aha, here is a thing happening with
Yeah.
X character or characters, and it happens. It's like, oh, okay, that explains that. But, like, in such a way of, like, there's no lead into it, there's no lead out of it. There's just some stuff that is really random, but at the same time, I don't think any of it is less random than, God damn it, they stole my freaking kidney.
Yeah, but here's the thing. God damn it, they stole my freaking kidney wasn't trying to be a big grand conclusion. It wasn't built up as a big... Like, it wasn't built up as a big, huge narrative conclusion. Like, this felt like it was building up to an expectation it didn't pay off. Whereas the previous ones were like, this is a stupid, silly story that it is what it is, and if you get more of it or don't, it doesn't matter. It didn't feel like it was going, we're finishing the story. Which is why I think I hold this to a different standard than some of the other endings.
I think if you view it as a story of... Oh, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
The story of dealing with the cube.
Yeah.
From episode 1. I'm not spoiling anything if you've seen the first part of that.
Yeah.
You know about the cube. I think if you see it as a story of dealing with the cube, that it concluded that. And everything else around it is just fucking so random early 2000s humour.
I disagree, because I personally feel that this is what we're going to do to deal with the cube, and whether it was successful or not and why, and the resulting consequences, I do not think there was nearly enough clarity to what was happening for me to understand the stakes of success and failure, what the plan was, whether it was succeeding or failing, and whether it's a good or bad thing that it succeeded or failed in the way it did. I feel like the big crux of how we're going to deal with the problem was very, very, like, hand wave away what the fuck is happening, and that made it really hard for me to care about whether it was working or not. And that's my personal take. But I enjoyed the previous... I preferred the previous parts where it wasn't trying to answer the questions and it was just being lol so random. It was just like, okay, time for an ending that didn't...
Some nice music.
Yeah. I enjoyed the rapping trench coat.
The rapping trench coat talking about Weasel Booty.
Yeah, Weasel Booty. that duet is fantastic.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think that for an ending that felt so rushed, there are a good few scenes in there that are just dwelling on scenery. Yeah, also, what does Jason Steele have against cubes? Because Detective Heart of America, the bad guy, was an Ouya.
I mean, cubes are angular.
Bad cube.
Yeah, cubes are easy shape to villainize. It's got so many angles, vertices. Grr.
We also watched the first episode of Final Space Season 3.
Yes, we did.
I do not really remember most of the previous seasons.
No, what I want to do is I want to find a good recap of the first 3 seasons and then rewatch that first episode of Season 3.
I feel like, yeah.
We jumped into it and I suddenly was like, oh yeah, I'm realising exactly how much I don't fucking remember about this.
I recognise the characters. I don't have a clue what's happening.
There are characters where I'm like, I remember you dying. I guess you're back. I don't remember how that happened.
I don't remember anyone dying.
I thought one of the cat characters died.
Oh.
Wasn't there something to do with that? Like the adult one and the kid was mourning?
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of stuff where I'm like, I half remember stuff and go, I'm sure that happened. Yeah.
This is the problem of just mainlining episodes of a show and then walking away from it with ADHD for a year or so.
Yeah. I think we need to watch a good recap and rewatch that first episode, because it was fascinating and visually really interesting.
And I felt like... The thing with the robot they find in the cave?
Yes.
Like, my legs. I felt like that was supposed to be way more impactful than it was, but I just sat there going, I don't know what just happened.
There's a lot of things where I was like, this seems really interesting and I'm enjoying the characterization, but I don't know what the fuck is happening and I don't remember and I need a reminder.
Yeah, so don't come into Final Space Season 3 blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe have a bit of a refresh.
Yeah.
If you, like me, don't remember shit very well.
Same. Also, we started watching a show called Inside Job.
Ooh.
We were quite enjoying the first few episodes to a point.
There was an energy about it that from the first episode I was like, I'm not sure about this.
Okay, so this is a animated comedy where the concept is that all of the conspiracies about the world being run by some shadowy cabal are true, but they're run by a slightly inept company doing their best to bumble through.
Who seem to work under the actual overlords.
Yeah, like there's the actual overlords and then there's like the middle management trying to work out like, okay, how do we make a robot that can replace the president or whatever we're trying to do? And your characters are like an army man who was genetically spliced with a dolphin, a sentient psychic mushroom.
Mike.
Yeah. It's got the energy. Here's the thing: right from the start, it very clearly has the energy of a rude adult comedy.
Yes,
but
it's got real Family Guy vibes.
And the thing was,
but
in
the
those
art style of something like Regular Show.
Yeah, in the first couple of episodes, it hadn't explicitly done anything that was like, oh, that's gross, but it had that energy of like it feels like the kind of show that does some of those gross things.
Yeah, I think it was the fact that they, like, there was a couple of times when they were very much relied on the, hey, we're the secret shadowy people and we've got, like, the best drugs because we can make them stronger than anyone else.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe that's just a fun thing. People getting high jokes all the time and I don't have a problem with that. But just something about the way they were handling it was just like, I don't know where this is going.
The thing that turned us off it, in the very first episode, I instantly had they're going to say the main character is autistic vibes. And
that could have been done really well. Because she seems to be very capable, very driven, very scientifically minded, and has worked her way up to the top of a corporation.
I want to push through and finish watching that episode that we turned off partway through, because I want to see if they pull it back before the end of the episode, because it didn't start great, and I'm hoping, like, I want to try and see if it's trying to build to something actually good with that.
There were two reasons that it got turned off yesterday.
Yeah.
One, yesterday was not the fucking day for it.
Yeah.
And we just wanted some, like, fun, silly...
Yeah.
Like, a joke with something a bit soft and fuzzy and maybe taking the piss out of the right wing. That would have been just fine.
Yeah.
The second thing was the fact that they specifically said Asperger's.
Yeah.
It's like, oh...
Hey, writers, if you're using the word Asperger's today for a character not based on a real person, you're probably doing so because autism light is probably how you're using it. And maybe that's not where that episode will go, but from the first episode, they're coding this main character as, like, really smart, intelligent, like, fantastic at what they do, savant-level intelligence at times, very good with computers, but not a good people person, very abrasive, very bad at interpersonal communication, doesn't make eye contact, they keep pointing out. Like, that is a very big point they keep hammering home.
The weird thing is, that stuff is all very normal for me, so it didn't really register as potentially a red flag. It registered as, this is a very relatable character, I'm into this.
This is the thing, very relatable character, but, like, it's... As someone that does a lot of media criticism, I was like, you've mentioned doesn't make eye contact 3 times in 10 minutes, you're queuing that up as a personality trait, and you're building that. There's an episode.
I suppose it's very hard to convey in a cartoon.
Yeah, I'm gonna power through when I'm in a better place to watch that episode in which, like, they name drop Asperger's, and I'm gonna see if, like, they, like, because it is very deliberately a flippant older character
Yeah.
saying it flippantly at the main character. Maybe the main character does something more tasteful with looking into that, and it's maybe treated well. We'll see. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's trash. I'm curious.
Yeah. Just yesterday wasn't the day for it.
Yeah. That being said, I think so far, other than that, the humor has been, it hasn't been punching down. It hasn't done a lot of the, tropes I would have expected. It seems to largely be, reaffirming the position that, hey, right-wing government is largely terrible.
Yep.
And doing
will
terrible
do
things.
All the worst things.
Yep. It takes the stance of, say, hey, American isolationism and a president that wants to shut America off from the whole world is a terrible, bad thing.
Yep.
That should be stopped.
Yup.
Bad people shouldn't have access to all the nukes. I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
okay, yeah.
Some of the humour will make you go a bit...
It's a bit close to the line in places, but it's
There is an internal convenience store within that organisation called 9/11.
Yeah. I've yet to feel I feel like it has so far, other than the how is today the right day to deal with this Asperger's plot?
Yeah.
It has stayed on the correct line of where I would want this kind of thing to be. Yeah. I'm willing to give it another chance on a better day.
Yes.
Yeah, have you watched anything else?
I think that's it.
I think that's it for me as well.
Well then.
Time for this.
Laura, we got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you sometimes say things that are a bit, releasing some of the trauma?
Ah, yes, I didn't mean for that. That's very normal to me, but you're giving me the very weird look right now.
I'm saying what was in my head,
Yeah.
but you're giving me the look of, oh my god, are you okay? Ah.
Yeah, it's
You have reminded me of the awfulness of the world.
It's like, oh no, I'm very sorry. This happened at a young enough age that, I just don't think about it now.
For me, I just make casual offhand jokes about
but
it.
oops, oh no, now you think everything's very bad. I'm sorry about this.
That's it's not necessarily the worst thing. It's just that I have learnt to humorize my trauma, I guess.
My lens of what is bleak is a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Would you like reminding about that before somebody else gives you the look?
I mean, it would be very convenient to know, oh shit, this is going to make someone do the look.
Introducing the personal Bleak alarm.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, it can either be worn around your wrist like a watch or hung from the neck as like a little pendant.
Yeah.
And it will either vibrate or emit little tones or a series of tones, or I suppose you could set up just like a ringtone on it.
Yeah.
And it will let you know if you're being bleak.
So I can, get a few words into a sentence and be like, oh yeah, at that point one of my parents, and then it's like, oh, it's vibrating, I'm about to go into bleak, I should probably, I'll tone this down a little.
Offered me some jelly and ice cream.
Yes. That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
Ignore the beeping.
Ignore the progressively louder beeping. So that's personalbleakalarm.lol.net. Enter the code Q&PS 1879 180 something. Just keep pumping 18 numbers in there, and I'm sure you'll probably get the thing, right? Probably. There's a discount code, 15% off. You could get one of those, including free shipping.
Ooh.
That's personalbleakalarm.lol.net, and do the thing.
Yeah.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi, yeah. So I want more money.
Well, I mean, you don't even have to say that. That's just the resting state of
That
things.
is my resting state. Yeah, I like money. I want money.
Money's
more
good.
money.
I like money too.
And I like when number go up.
Number go up. Money is one of my favorite number to go up. Yeah, bad number to go up.
Yeah.
Money, good number to go up.
Yeah. I'm just tired of other people around the office. those
Right.
devs, especially when we've been crunching them and they can't leave the office and
They get all complainy.
they get all complainy and they get a real stink on, and it's not good.
Yeah.
You have to like spray them down with Febreze and
It's more effort than it's worth.
It's just nasty. I mean, maybe we could like put them behind some kind of screen or something so we don't have to smell them, but it's really nasty. So I have this whole idea.
Okay, run it by me.
What if, instead of making games,
Right.
we just announce games?
I mean, don't we already do that?
We announce games, we open pre-orders exclusively through our own site,
Okay.
and then we spin up the hype machine, we get marketing involved. Oh, it's gonna be great. Here's some single artwork that we made for it.
Yeah.
Oh, here's some screenshots.
Yeah.
And buy our game. And people will start to get the pre-orders in. And we just keep dragging that out. Oh, sorry, it got delayed. You know how we delay games all the time?
Oh, yeah, we do that.
It got delayed. But here's some more hype, so you probably want to, put some money in and buy that, right?
Well, I'm pretty sure if we keep angling it as we're delaying it for you, the fans. We want it to be the greatest video game that's ever existed. We thought of new ideas, we have new content. We don't want to release it until it's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got something.
What do you got?
I think we can really abuse that quote from that one famous game designer. Yeah, if a game's not perfect when it releases, it's never
bad
perfect.
Forever.
Yeah, bad forever. It ignores the fact that patches exist, but like we can spin that up and be like, oh no, it'll be bad forever if we release it before it's ready. But
yeah, I mean, it's not like we patch anything till it properly works. We build roadmaps.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't like the roadmaps recently, so what if we cut that out by never releasing the game?
Yeah. Oh, you don't want a roadmap? That's fine. We won't release it until all of the roadmap content is done.
And then next time there's like a whole controversy about someone being abused here, we just go, well, it was the person who was in charge of making the game, and we've canned them. We've canned them, so unfortunately that means this cannot now be released.
But we can't refund you because we sunk the money into the development of the project.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
understand.
that money's been spent. Yeah. Or, we announced that we were hacked or something and we've lost all the receipts and we can't possibly prove it, and that's our money now.
You are a fucking genius.
I know. So, what have you put in your eyes?
My eyes?
No,
what do you mean by ears?
Your ear eyes.
My sound
audio
eyes.
recepting.
My audio eyes.
Yeah. What if sound instead of light?
Well, I listened to a lot of 90s and 2000s rock and pop because
yes.
I was having a weekend with the nerds. Lots and lots of like mashups of interesting tracks. Absolutely belted my heart out to some My Chemical Romance. Both Welcome to the Black Parade and Teenagers had a good old scream along too, and then got very excited that in 7 months I'm seeing them live. More than once. I'm seeing them. It's happening. And then I listened to a lot of MCR because of course I did.
Right.
But I did listen to some new music as well. I listened to a track called "You Still Believe in Me?" by Bomb the Music Industry. It's very ska-influenced hard rock music, about the chaos of trying to self-med and manage ADHD. The chorus is very specifically about, like, on meds, I feel like I'm fixed now. Oh no, I came off my meds. No, brain is not fixed. That is still a thing, huh? Brain wants chaos distractions. Nah. I'm like, yep, that's relatable. I also listened to a track called Everything Is Fine by Q-Bomb, which is a very upbeat sort of pop rock track with deliberately clashing lyrics. So like very upbeat tone, lyrics are a lot more chaotic and like not as upbeat. About how pretending that everything is fine and saying that we're happy all the time is what capitalism and fascist control want. They want people to, pretend everything's fine and that they're happy and to not acknowledge the bad. because, we need to get angry and admit we're unhappy about things in order to have the energy to make things better and to not feel apathetic. The track has some really interesting pacing stuff. There's a very frantic, aggressive, fast-paced rock escalation, and some very creative use of gasping for breath and being told to calm down to control the pacing of the track. It tells a very effective story with, tone of vocal delivery and pacing of track that I really enjoy. And the last one I listened to was called A Werewolf by Attic Abasement, which is a sort of laid-back song about trying to push yourself to be someone that you're not for someone and feeling like you've damaged yourself a little in the process and why you shouldn't do that. So it's a good track. What about you? What do you listen to?
So I was listening to Nancy P. Ellis channel on YouTube. There's a bunch of mixes. Find My Way and Halloween at Home. They're about sort of 2.5, 3 hours long. And it's lo-fi for witches only.
Oh, yes.
There's some really nice, chill lo-fi with there's a lot of flute in there. It's just some beautiful lo-fi that I enjoyed for a few hours while I was writing the penultimate chapter of our book. Penultimate.
We're nearly there. We're nearly done.
We've only got 2 pages left, and that's the prologue, and the first draft is done. And I listened to My Chemical Romance. I Brought You My Bullets.
Oh yeah, the
Shaftier album.
The very angry album. The 9/11 happened, and I have complicated feelings I need to shout about because the world is scary.
Yep. Listen to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard's Nonagon Infinity album. The album you can play forever. Because it trails out to the end, at the end to the beginning of the first track.
That's clever.
You can just listen to it on repeat forever.
I did go back and, on a similar note, I went back and listened to 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, because I think it was this past week that I was mentioning to you the fact that album is the Gerard Way's Grandmother's Just Died album, and I was like, I want to listen back to that, and I listened back through and was like, I'm listening for references again, because once you know that, that's sort of everywhere in there.
You know.
Yeah.
I also listened to a good chunk of the Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver soundtrack.
Oh, it's got a good soundtrack.
I like Azalea Town. Azalea Town is
good.
What else? Oh, the Wi-Fi Plaza tracks.
Oh,
those
yes.
are really nice and upbeat.
Yeah.
I don't know when I would have heard them otherwise, but yeah. And the Pokathlon. There's a few good tracks related to the Pokathlon area. It was the... Oh my god, there's so much music. Wi-Fi Plaza minigame. And the Parade track from Wi-Fi Plaza. Just nice upbeat sounds. Very good. And the Ocarina of Time soundtrack for entirely different reasons.
I mean, that's a good soundtrack.
It's a good soundtrack. There's some really beautiful tracks on there, and it holds up even though it was made the way it was. I recently discovered sound fonts for the N64 because I made a piece of music for another podcast called What Nintended, and they were like, can you do something that sounds a bit like Diodox? I was like, well, what if I get the instruments they used to make Diodox?
I mean, you did a fantastic job of using those instruments to make a legally distinct, very Diodox.
Yeah, it's called Pitiful Pitiful Pear. Also, check that out. I think they're on episode 2.5 now. They're doing a mini-sode, mailbag stuff between episodes. Their second episode was about what your favourite Pokemon are.
Yeah.
So give that a listen to, maybe. Another quick one related to listen. We're going to be on Human Tolerant News later today.
Yes, today is Many Recordings Day.
Oh, yes. So we will give you a link when that drops, and you can listen to us chatting to some lovely humans. I think Phoenix is going to be there, Bethany, Lauren, that you may know from Dice Funk.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lovely time, and we're going to talk about good news, because gosh darn, we could use some good news.
Yeah, I need to talk about some good news, please.
Good news, please.
The good things.
Well, that is everything I've listened to.
That's everything I've listened to.
Well then.
Time for this.
Okay, thanks very much for stopping by there, System of a Down. It was lovely to chat to Serge there, and I think just coming off the main stage now, we've got Rage Against the Machine. Tom Morello, could we just bother you for a quote?
Oh, thank you. Hi, hello.
Hi, Tom.
I'm glad that you stopped me. I've been looking for an opportunity to do an interview today. I think it's finally time.
It's time.
Yes, it's time.
It's finally time.
It's finally time.
We're gonna hear today.
It's today.
Live. You're about to hear it live here first on Rock Against the Rage Against the Radio. Tom Morello, do let us know.
It's finally time to let you know what machine we were raging against. It's been commonly held as a theory for a long time that it's generally the establishment, and I understand why people think that, but no, it is not the establishment in general. It was a printer I bought back in the 90s.
You hear it here first. We're live against Rock Against the Radio. It was a printer bought in the 90s. Very understandable. Inkjets fucking suck.
Couldn't stop jamming the paper. Absolute waste of money.
Since Tory MPs have voted against or abstained from stopping sewage being dumped into British waters, it seems the only recourse for those of us who care about our waterways and coastline is to shit on a Tory today. Shit on a Tory, because they've been shitting on you for years.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
Right, Larry.
Right, Mary, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
That sort of sound,
Yeah.
Prolonged sounds of screaming.
Yeah, I have just finished writing a very lengthy complaint to the BBC.
Oh, yeah, for all the good it'll do.
I've
Deliberately obfuscated just how difficult it is to actually get a complaint heard by a person who isn't, outsourced and there to not actually listen to your complaint, but to just send you a stock letter.
Indeed. I've spent the last many hours researching how best to do a complaint to the BBC about that terrible article in which they claimed that trans women are rapists raping cis lesbians. Terrible, reporting on a basically nothing study by people with a huge bias that have self-reported with a terrible sample size. All of the other
people I heard, yeah.
Yeah, lots of all the terrible nonsense with it, and working out how to complain to the BBC about their complete, absolute mask-off transphobia was a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, because, I've written complaints to the BBC myself, and along with a group of other people, and funnily enough, we all received like a stock response, which none of us were happy with, so a lot of us wrote back, and then we got like a slightly more personalised response, but still very dismissive and derisive, and that is about the time that I stopped paying a TV licence and refused to support the BBC.
So, my understanding here is the process. Your first complaint, make sure it is less than 1,000 words. Make sure it focuses on factual things that are not emotion-based. They do not care about your feelings on the matter. They care about whether they have broken rules. Look up the BBC's own guidelines. For example, this particular article was not properly sourced, was self-reported, and was from a group with a recognisable bias, which are all things against the BBC's guidelines of how surveys should be used as news. Look at things like Ofcom's rules and which of those that have been broken, particularly ones about deliberately inciting or publishing things that could be seen to incite hate on the BBC. Make sure you stay factual, keep it under 1,000 words. They will dismiss you if it's over 1,000 words. And every time they send you a boilerplate response, go back to the complaints form, send your complaint again, verbatim, with the thing ticked that says, I have complained before and would like to escalate. You will keep getting dismissive responses. Keep doing it. There is about 6 stages of complaint you're going to have to go through in order to reach an actual human being who will properly engage and not just dismiss it. And at that point, if they still dismiss it, you can raise it to Ofcom. Thing to know, You cannot add new information from one stage to the next. Whatever information you want to raise all the way up to, say, Ofcom, needs to be in there from the very first stage of the complaint process, because if you try and add anything in along the way, it will be dismissed as you're working this out as you go along. You didn't have a clear complaint sorted. It will be dismissed.
The way people actually, complain about things, compose their thoughts a bit further and add things maybe later on, or...
Unfortunately, no. You have to pick a complaint, pick the facts you're including, and not add anything additional over time. Keep persisting when they keep fobbing you off until you reach Ofcom. Keep it under 1,000 words every time. That is unfortunately the way it has to be done. If you look at specifically BBC complaints procedure, there is a PDF that is like 100 pages long, but you're specifically looking for section 2, which is about inaccuracy in news reporting, which will give you a pretty good breakdown of the order. It's a lot of words and a lot of text. Persist and pay really close attention to how you follow it, because a single not perfectly followed step, they'll just throw your complaint out the process. But
it's the BBC, which has been held up as like a world class source of reporting, has just been going down the toilet for years. And the news section is definitely getting more mask off, right wing mouthpiece Tory bullshit. All the while, the right wing spend a lot of time going, "Oh, bunch of left wing losers at the BBC." Where are they? Where are they then? Because frankly, we could use some, if that's all right. Because frankly, I'm fucking tired of the BBC, and I think if anyone is paying for a TV license, they are complicit in the whole thing.
Hey, anyone who has seen this absolute blatant, like, damaging, going to get people hurt transphobia from the BBC, you do not need to pay a TV license in the UK. If you stop watching broadcast TV and don't use iPlayer, you do not need to pay for a TV license. That is the only thing that's honestly going to hurt the BBC's bottom line, is if people who care about this level of bigotry stop giving the BBC money.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I think even if you don't have the endurance to go through that complaint procedure, if you would be willing to sign the open letter, hopefully that will generate something. Because
there's an open letter due in their hands.
I believe the Good Law Project are also looking into some sort of action against that, and they're usually very good. Maybe consider a donation to them to help with that, because we are fully descending into fascism at this point, and that is deeply concerning.
Also, I hear January 8th, all around the country, multiple protests are being planned for various BBC buildings, and you could probably find some info about that.
Yeah, hopefully that will actually be listened to rather than ignored, the way the BBC are very good at ignoring the sorts of protests that they don't want to pay attention to.
I'm hoping it will be more difficult to ignore when it's literally outside their front door.
Hopefully that would be good. Yeah. Hug, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, needed, mate. Needed.
Yeah.
Good hug, mate. Good hug. All right. I think I'm have myself another cup of tea.
Oh, sounds lovely. Lovely.
So, we've got a book.
We do have a book.
Do you want to tell everyone about the book?
It's called Who Hunts the Whale? It is a satirical novel set in a video game publisher's office that does terrible, exploitative, bad things. And it's told through a year of notes from APA working in the executive boardroom. Trying to navigate how to survive what was meant to be a dream job and is slowly becoming clearly not that. We're nearly finished writing it. We're very proud of it. Mm-hmm. If you want to support that book, it's up on Unbound. You can go to so that when we finish writing it, we can send one to you, and your name will be in the back, and or there's other backer rewards if you want
You
them.
could get a swag bag. You could imagine that you live in a world where, there was a big company that you're fanatically obsessed with, and they were like, hey, draw some up, and we'll put it in our game competition. It's not that we haven't made assets for our game, honest. Wink, 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 wink,
Yeah.
wink, wink, wink.
You made some wonderful assets for us, and we will definitely pay you
Here's
in
a tote-
promotional merch.
Here's a tote bag with a cup and
a pen and
a pin badge. All of the things you want, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm excited about that swag bundle
I am
existing.
too.
Hell yeah. But yeah, you should check that out. Should we promote the other things we do?
The other things, yeah. What do you do on the internet and other places?
Laura K. Buzz, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon. That's the one that pays the bills. I've got other books. Uncomfortable Labels, Things I Learned from Mario's Butt, Gender Euphoria, they're all out now. There's podcasts I do, Pixel Squirt, Podquisition, Dice Funk, and I'm on another podcast with you that isn't this one.
Ooh. I'm getting back to it, honest. We've nearly finished writing the book, which means I can move back to editing polyarmy.
Books somewhat consumed our life for a bit, as books tend to do.
As they tend to do. So there's Polyarmy. It's an indie 5th edition real play podcast with questionable morals. You could join people like the lovely Bethany Turner, who is currently doing a re-listen of Polyarmy. I also did a horror podcast show thing. It's about an hour long. It's called The Program.
Yeah.
You can listen to that. It's spoopy time, so it's time for some spoopy stuff. Listen to possibly the spoopiest thing anyone's ever made.
Also, there's a thing of yours that's going up this weekend, I believe, that you guested on. Is going up this weekend.
Oh, is this going up this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so glad no one told me.
I found out only last night because Austin was telling us the upcoming schedule.
I'm on a Dice Funk one-shot with
Yeah.
Joa and Amira and Fee. And we played Thirsty Sword Lesbians. And I played Soliloquy, an emo octoling who has a secret that she sort of goes beast mode and transforms into something else. But I won't tell you what. You'll have to work it out unless I mention it in the last episode, in which case you already know, but I don't remember telling you. Yeah.
But yes, I believe that's going up on Sunday. It's going up on Halloween Day.
We had a lot of fun recording that. It's just fucking wild.
Yeah.
So if you want a little Dice Funk one-shot with some people who are learning Thirsty Sword Lesbians and telling a story about consent and love and hugs and cooking and singing and just going on a game show. I won't say any more than that. Check it out. That was really, really good and fun, and the
Yeah.
characters are really fascinating, so give that a look.
I'm excited for people to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear that.
So Laura,
Yeah.
sing us out please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.